Chinese sci-fi author Liu Cixin, who you may know as the author of The Three-Body Problem, The Wandering Earth, wrote a short story in 2014 called The Migration of Time. The story follows a group of time immigrants who find themselves stuck in a cycle of endless immigration as the people of the future refuse to take them in, and so they keep going back to their cryo-sleeping chambers only to wake up hundreds of years later and face more rejection, as humans of the future continue to evolve beyond anything that the immigrants can even relate to. Ultimately, the people of the future evolve beyond flesh and desire into nothing but floating digital entities of thoughts and ideologies, and merge together into one singular body, devoid of any sin or negativity, a collective mind that is pure and perfect and all-knowing. This immortal singular human mind that encompasses all of humanity's history, culture and knowledge, including that of thousands of years into the future, decides that the one thing it could not comprehend is death, the state of no time, and so it turns off the supercomputer hosting it, effectively killing the entire human race. The time immigrants wake up thousands of years following this mass killing to find nothing. No message, no temple, no pedal stone, nothing was left behind by the greatest human mind that ever existed. There was nothing worth living, nothing worth writing about. Recently I've been playing Sleeping Dogs, a game that started its development as True Crime Hong Kong, the third planned installment in the True Crime franchise. This franchise was owned by Activision and released its first game, True Crime Streets of LA, in 2003. 2 years later, in 2005, a sequel, True Crime New York City, was released. Development for a third True Crime game started a few years later, but was ultimately axed by Activision in 2011. Luckily, Square Enix picked up the project and released the game in 2012 as Sleeping Dogs. They didn't, however, buy the name True Crime, which was a trademark owned by Activision at the time. The period of time between the release dates of True Crime New York City and Sleeping Dogs was 7 years, yet it appears to people like me who grew up with the franchise to be much longer, even longer than the 13 years it's been since Sleeping Dogs was released. As we get older, we get exposed to fewer newer experiences. Time appears to go at a much faster rate than it used to. As kids, a month seemed like an eternity, but as adults, a whole year passes by before we even get used to it. Sleeping Dogs was not a commercial success. According to Square Enix, it failed to meet its sales expectations. In 2016, the developer behind it, United Front Games, closed doors, and just 2 years before that, Activision dropped the trademark of True Crimes. Layoffs, closed studios, and cancelled games is nothing new, and there is no better example to talk about dead games than Midway Games. The history of Midway goes all the way back to 1958. Midway's big breakthrough, however, came in 1978 and the following years as they started licensing and distributing popular Japanese arcade games, including Space Invaders and Pac-Man, among others. Midway was one of the main players that shaped today's gaming. They were the developer and publisher of the original Mortal Kombat 2, 3, and essentially every Mortal Kombat since till the 2008 Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. They were also the publisher of Doom 64, The Suffering, Narc, Unreal Tournament 3, and the co-publisher of Lord of the Rings Online. For me personally, one of Midway's most memorable games was psi-ops, The Mindgate Conspiracy, an action-adventure game released in 2004 that had it all: third-person shooting, psychic abilities, stealth, interesting storyline, and one of the best tie-in music videos, the song Was My Mind by Cold. The game had it all, yet it failed commercially, and plans for its sequel were cancelled by Midway. Midway Games' financial woes continued to haunt the company. In 2006 and 2007, Midway lost $77 million on sales of $166 million and $100 million on sales of $157 million. It continued to finance its businesses with debt offerings. The company was also engaged in legal battle with Mind Shadow Entertainment for the psi-ops video games rights. The latter company claimed that Midway copied psi-ops' story from a screenplay written and owned by one of their clients. Midway Games wasn't doing well, and on November 21, 2008, it received NYSE delisting notice after its stock price fell below $1. Investors were rushing to sell off their stocks and debts. In 2009, Warner Bros. Purchased most of the company's assets, most notably Mortal Kombat, while THQ purchased the company's San Diego studio. THQ themselves filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in December of 2012. The last piece of Midway Games was sold to Southpeak Games on October 2, 2009. Southpeak Games quietly disappeared from the public eye in July of 2013. If you are wondering who is Southpeak Games, they were the publisher of over 60 games including Section 8, Two Worlds, and its sequel, Two Worlds 2. In many of his writings, Liu Cixin talks about civilization and what does it mean. In one of his stories, Taking Care of Gods, he says that the death of civilization is a natural conclusion following a decay that comes after its golden age. He believes that greatness isn't meant to last, it's but a passing period. Many of the video games and the studios that made them have been through their golden age, and perhaps their demise was inevitable. It's a natural course that all should follow.